My name is Shanelle Gabriel. I am the host of the Zora Neale Hurston stage. We have a poetry reading happening here all day. So I'm about to announce the next poet. You heard Omar Holman, who is actually signing books in the back as Black Nerd Problems, as well as we were all someone else yesterday. So if you have not stopped by the book tent, make sure you grab a book, and you're gonna grab a book from the next person that's gonna come to the stage. Her book is absolutely amazing for all the things I never got to say. So each time I bring somebody up here, I'm going to read a Zora Neale Hurston quote in honor of the essayist, writer, poet, filmmaker. And the quote that I'm going to share in the introduction of Fanta is, there are years that ask questions and there are years that answer. And so, very much thinking about the work that Fanta is going to share, this will be very applicable. Fanta Ballo is a motivational speaker, an award winning spoken word artist, and the author of poetry book For All the Things I Never Got to Say. Fanta ignites the flame of possibility in the hearts of the young and the young at heart, like myself. She performed at the Global Citizens Festival opening for Shawn Mendes, at a Juneteenth event hosted by the New York City mayor and his wife, at a youth mental health conference for UNICEF, and at the Earthshot Prize Summit for Bloomberg Philanthropies, and other countless high profile events. She was awarded the first ever Wonder Grant from the Shawn Foundation, and she represents all day to the day she dies. Harlem, New York. Please show some love. Bring your hands together for Fanta Ballo.
All right. Harlem, what's up? All right, so I don't gotta do another intro because Chanel gave me a beautiful intro, but just a little bit about me. I'm a spoken word artist from Harlem, New York. It's actually a roundabout moment because when I was about 11 years old, I performed in the Schomburg Theater, so now I get to perform on the Zora Neale Hurston stage, so that's a blessing. I'm gonna be reading a couple of poems from my book For All the Things I Never Got to Say. Some short poems, some longer poems, and if we have time, I'll do an extra piece. So this first poem is titled Learning. Learning to love myself must be the hardest course I've ever taken. Learning to constantly believe in myself even on the days where I feel like I won't make it, where I can't take the sound of my own voice, learning to be at peace with my own silence, learning the importance of loving out loud, learning to live for myself every day, learning that the learning never stops, learning that the growing never stops. Evolution is inevitable. Thank you. All right. So this next poem is actually the poem that ended up getting me the Wanda Grant from the Shawn Mendes Foundation, and that money is what I used to publish this book. So this poem is titled My Black Is. And I wrote this around the time where we were asking people in the theater world to share their mics with young Black and African women coming up in the theater world. So Adina Menzel shared her mic with me, and this is the poem that I wrote that ended up changing my life. My black is not a political stance. You don't get to choose if you want to be red or blue. You don't get to skip out on voting day just because you want to. My black is not up for a debate. And being black shouldn't determine my fate. I shouldn't be scared to die at the hands of the police. I shouldn't be squirming every time I hear the chant, I can't breathe. Because all I ever wanted was for y'all to see underneath. For police to see more than a target, to see me. Some days my black just sits and waits for better days to come, not truly knowing if it ever will. My black is tired of seeing another person die before she has time to heal. My black has a void that I've been trying to fill for the longest. Because you know, black women always have to be the strongest, but even the best therapists have therapists. My black is CEO for taking it on the chin because no matter how low they go, I always have to be the bigger person. My black was told that her public school education didn't belong with the private school guys. Now that same black will be graduating with her bachelor's in economics in record time. My black been defying odds. My black been breaking records. My black steps up and steps out. But who cares how respectable my black is when it will only be highlighted to demean my black friends? No matter if you're a thug, dropout, doctor, or baller, your black matters. For our black is immortal, because our martyrs will never die, because their name will ricochet through every Twitter chain while their whole life gets reduced to a hashtag. And I've become accustomed to this story. It feels more like a flashback. And I'm tired of carrying the burden of being the only black woman, because it's one hell of a backpack. My black takes up space. My black ain't controversial. My black shouldn't be tiptoed around. Talk about me. Talk about how you love my culture but don't love my pain. How you only care when we die but don't do anything to change. How you run from our black but know every song to our blues. How when we plead Black Lives Matter, you try to drown us out and say all lives matter too. My black can't be silent. My black is mad, so that's why we riot. My black has been chained up under the table, which is why my black is inciting an uprising in as much as my black is disrespected. My black don't discriminate. My black is open to all allies who are down for our fight. My black knows that all skin folk ain't kinfolk. My black knows that ain't nothing gonna change until these institutions do. We need to abolish racism and his cousin colorism too. My black is a sacrificial lamb for the black kin that will come next. I'll take all the bullets. That means that my brother could be black, a boy, and alive. I lay my head at the throne of racism. That means that my brother would survive the youth. They're black. Their melanin that pops just a little more than ours. For them, my black has to be enough. That's why I can't let up. I won't let up. So share your mic today. Continue to do so for tomorrow. Let this be bigger than the moment. Let this be a norm. It's time to break out of the system that you just blindly conformed to. Use your platform to inform those who will only listen if words are reiterated by a white woman. Let them know that it's time to wake up. For my black will never be silenced. My black won't be overpowered, but my black is humble enough to know that alone we'll go fast, but together we'll go farther. So we'll be on the forefront. For this is our movement. But ride for us just as hard as you ride for our music, and for the love of God, stop talking about all the steps you take and just step out and do it. Because the world is watching. And you tell me, what side of history do you want to be on? Thank you. All right, this poem is titled Enough. There are days where I feel like poetry is not enough. Days where writing is not enough. Where I can't find the courage to pick up a pen because the thought of me doing anything but laying here is exhausting. There are days I am exhausted. There are days I just want someone to hold me and not let go. To ask me, how are you feeling, and actually care. There are days where I feel like I am existing but not living, where I am breathing but barely alive. There are days when poetry is not enough. When my words are not enough to bring me out of this cloud of darkness, where I'm so lost in my own thoughts, I can't even hear myself speak. I cringe at the sound of my own voice, so I stay silent and I observe and I watch. There are days I just wait for the storm to pass. I wait for the dark cloud to be lifted. I sit and I wait. I wait for the days where poetry is enough, where my writing is enough, where my words are enough. The days where I can love again. The days where poetry makes me feel whole again. Where the rhythm of my fingers tapping on my iPhone screen calms my nerves. Makes me feel like I am actually worth something. The days where poetry is my healing. Swaddle me up on this lap. My head on this heartbeat like my mama used to do. Where poetry makes me feel safe. When it lets me write all over it and never judges a single word I have to say. When it rubs me on my back and tells me it's fine, you were made this way. When it makes me feel big in a world that is huge, reminding me to take up space within myself but always leave room for growth. There are days where poetry makes me forget the heartbreaks, sing to my soul so I can heal my heartaches. There are days where poetry never leaves. There are days when it actually stays. Poetry is my safe, gives me the ability to say what I feel. So every day I sit and I wait, reminding myself that one day I will see that poetry is enough. Writing is enough. I am enough. Thank you. All right, I have one more. Does anybody out here watch the Tamron Hall show? Yeah, we got one couple people. Well, In October, I had the pleasure to go on the Tamron Hall show and do this poem. One day I love Fanta Ballo. So yeah, I'm gonna do this again. And I know that one by heart because it's my favorite. One day I'll be able to sing my praise so loud that they'll always remember my name and never forget my face. I'll leave an imprint. My journey to this moment has been long, but I've enjoyed the distance. I've loved and lost people every time I grieve different. Born a black body in a white world, so I'm not ignorant to the fact that I'm perceived different one day. I'll love my gentle heart. I'll accept that I live with my heart on my sleeve, and no matter how many times I try, I care. I leave every situation a little less full because I give. I give sometimes more than I can afford, but I do it because that's all I ever wanted one day. I love the crooked smile mama never had braces money to fix. I love the way I awkwardly laugh when I'm nervous or didn't hear you speak but too anxious to ask you to repeat. I smile. And for a while, that's what got me through masking my pain with metaphors. I fell in love with the pen, found a home in my journal. And that's how this journey began one day. I'll find the courage to put the pen down and actually say everything I wanted to say but never got to. Let this book be my anchor and stepping stone of faith. Someday I'll love Fanta Ballo and everything she's got to say. Thank you. Okay. Oh, we about to talk, period.
Everybody giving up another round of applause for Fanta Ballo. That's okay. Oh my goodness. Such a blessing. So can I hold your book? Can I hold your book? Because I'm gonna just go like this. Um, no, but I think it's amazing to definitely have you be on this stage. You have so much connection to this neighborhood, this community. I would love for you to tell our audience, I guess, what role has Harlem played in your development as a writer?
Honestly, I drew all my inspiration from Harlem, whether it's me walking down the street, whether it's me running into people that I haven't seen in years. And I feel like, especially in my poetry and how I carry myself, like when you leave Harlem, anywhere you go, if somebody asks you where you from, you say Harlem with pride. Like, and I feel like I carried that even when I left home, when I went to Massachusetts, when I went to Albany, and I came back. And it was just more so like, how do I write about what I'm going through, what my people is going through, and making it in a way that we all could digest and like know that we all together in this.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, you definitely got the whole Harlem swag. Okay, you stay styling on them too. But so without doing the ageist thing of going, oh my gosh, you're so young. But I think you've been doing this for quite some time, even as a young person. And I think a lot of people struggle with this idea of confidence about their voice, about their stories. Did you ever go through that? And how young were you when you realized that you belonged on a stage or that your words belonged in the universe?
Honestly, I started performing when I was 11 years old. I went to a performing arts camp at a Broadway and I started performing. I started doing rap and I was like, I want to be a rapper. Fifth grade, I told myself I wanted to be a rapper. But then after a while, when I got to college, I realized that like poetry was what I wanted to do, but I never thought that I could be a full-time artist until I really started betting on myself about like when I graduated at 19, probably I was like, a month into the bank and I was like, nah, I have to go full in on my dreams. And like since then I've been like working with the kids and just like figuring out a way to give back with everything that I've learned. So it's really like you just gotta go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I know Fanta personally, and she is the hustler. Like when I say, if there is a place that poems exist, Fanta gonna be there, and that is very much your work ethic. So, I mean, you mentioned that you graduated college at 19.
Yeah.
Okay, how did you do that? Because you weren't even able to have a drink yet, and you was out of
Yeah.
college. Just
Right.
curious, what role did college actually play into your development? Was that a ground that you really used the stage and spaces there, or how did that itself contribute to your success so far?
In college, that's when I started performing at open mics, and I remember one of my friends recorded my open mic, and I posted it on Facebook like, this is just like a poetry video I did, and everybody. That's when I first started getting like people like, oh, you're actually good at this thing, and it's not like, oh, you're good because you're a young girl and we're gonna hype you up, but you actually have some talent there. So I started at open mics when I was in school, but I would say the real work didn't start until after I graduated college, because since I graduated so early, like 19, when you're 19, you think you're grown, but you're not really grown. So I had to get that, like, life had to, like, crap me up and humble me for a little bit. But now I'm 22, I would say 3 years doing this, and I feel like I'm so, like, comfortable, and I've not all the way figured out, but we better than where we started at. I say that.
Thank you. So who are some of your inspirations as a writer or as a performer, or if it's the same person? I'm just curious.
I have a lot. Um, Roya Marsh, Shehan Van Cleef, who's my mentor for a lot of years. Shanelle, Gabriel. Yeah, right. Um, Rudy Francisco, Jasmine Mans. Honestly, like, I just love like poetry, and I think I'm more so connected to the way people tell their stories. So like, if I could connect with your story, like, you're automatically one of my faves. Like,
So we have a lot of storytelling in this, and I mean, it, what was maybe one of your hardest poems to write inside of this book?
oh, the one I didn't read. It's titled "Footnotes for My Mother," and it's kind of about a conversation I had with my mom when I first came out. And the reason why I don't read that poem is because I was so young when I wrote it, and I wrote it from such a traumatized space. So like, when you write poetry from a traumatized space, it's not easy to share it all the time. And I think that one is the deepest wound, because like, the relationship with my mom being torn is the reason why I got into poetry, and is the reason why I'm here today. So it's like, I don't really want to pick over that scab every time I read it, but I am working on a more updated version of me today where I'm comfortable telling that story again. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because I think sometimes we think of poetry as I need to just, we used to say, spit your truth, share your truth, poet. And I'm like, I am not traumatizing myself for an audience. Like, that truth might need to just stay in my book for a little while. And maybe, and I guess the fact that and you still had the courage to put it in here.
Yeah.
Like, what made you put it in here still, even though you knew it was a hard poem?
Because the title of the book is full of things I never got to say. And
See what you did there.
that's
See what you did there.
that was little Fanta, who didn't have nobody to turn to, or when she did have people to turn to, once she started vocalizing what she was going through, she was like, wow, like, I need to write this down, like, I need to let this out, and I need to express myself. And that's how this book came about.
So what do you think are thank you. No, thank you for sharing, and thank you for being vulnerable enough to admit that there's hardship in even sharing, even as you're sharing.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we think that if you're on the stage, you have all the confidence, you have everything figured out, you've pieced together your life. We're no longer in therapy when we write a poem about it, right? Sometimes we think that, but the fact that we're still processing things as we're writing is super important. So I think what is something that you wish you could tell little Fanta back then when she was just writing things and maybe not as courageous as you are right now? I mean, you developed the confidence, but what would she need to hear?
Um, I would say I struggled a lot with imposter syndrome. Like, the other day, I was going through my photo albums, and I got emotional. And I was wondering why I got emotional, is because I was looking at this little brown girl, and I was like, "You were always beautiful. Like, you was always someone worth loving and worthy of everything." But I didn't believe that for a long time. And if anybody came around and would pour into me, I didn't know how to accept love, and I didn't understand why. And I think if I could talk to little Fanta, I would just like tell her, like, it's okay. Like, everybody ain't gonna like you, and sometimes kids is gonna be kids, people gonna be rude, but everything is not a reflection of you, right? And the way, if someone spews hatred on you, it's not a reflection of who you are, but how they feel within themselves. And younger me internalized everything. And now I feel like if I could go back, I would just hug her, tell her slow down, and like, everything is gonna work out the way it needs to work out.
I think I need to hear that. Some of us needed to hear that today. You're like, you know what? I need to remember that. Hold on, slow down. Everything is going to work out the
Yes.
way it needs to. Absolute honesty. So I'm going to open the floor for any questions for Fanta, anything that you would want to know about her work or just in general about being an artist or creative, opening the floor for any questions. I have a couple more I can go to, but I want to prioritize the audience having any space to share, ask anything. Anyone, it's like communion. Has there anyone been overlooked? All right, I have one more.
Oh wait.
Oh, we do. Oh, perfect. Yes. Oh, thank you.
You mentioned that you now do this full time.
Yes.
The question is, as a poet, how are you doing this full time? Are you working with children? Are you traveling around the world? What's your full time?
The answer is all of the above. So I am a teaching artist, actually a teaching artist through Urban Word. I do teaching artist work through Global Arts, and I'm actually working on another residency with someone else. I also perform full time through Urban Word, and also people reach out to me, and I've been fortunate enough to book my own gigs, and just honestly just perform, network, and then you never know. Like I've gotten booked for gigs from people I met at an open mic a year ago, and they just remembered me and they called me up, and then luckily I called Shanelle like, how much should I charge? Okay, and Shanelle helps me. So, honestly, it's a combination. I would say teaching artist work is very big during the school year, and then when I'm on the weekends or like if I have to call out, I get to do a gig, and I've been fortunate enough this year to really be able to make it sustainable. So
Yeah, we're gonna snap to artists being able to be artists because that's a real world. It's a real world application, life application. Any other questions? Oh, go ahead. Yes.
So, why did you move from Harlem when you were already here?
Oh, that is a great question, right? So I left Harlem when I was 15. I left and I went to early college, Bar College at Simon's Rock. And honestly, it's like it's unfortunate, but like I said, everything leads back to at home. I wasn't feeling like comfortable at home. I was really exploring my sexuality at the time, and I didn't feel like I could be myself at home. So then I was like, I just want to go to boarding school. Life just ended up, and I ended up in college, right? That wasn't the plan. I didn't write down and know I was going to go to college early, but the way life worked out, I just ended up in college early. But I came back to Harlem. I'm back home, not too far from here. So, but yeah, I had to get away for a little bit, refocus my mind, and figure out what I really wanted to do, so that when I came back, I had something to give back to my community and my people that was already here.
That's a good. That's a good answer. You like that answer? There you go. Oh, thank you so much.
That was a great question.
That's a good question. And I mean, sometimes it's interesting that the experiences, the leaving, is the thing that sometimes makes you really, really ground yourself. Because we can get really comfortable. I'm a Brooklyn girl. Brooklyn in the house anywhere? Okay.
Hey.
Took the train all the way up here. Yeah, I was somebody Brooklyn all the way in the back. He's like, yeah. But definitely like leaving. And I went upstate too. You went to SUNY Albany. I went to Utica College. So I know what it's like to leave this beautiful, bustling, busy city and going to this quiet, calm, non-diverse, dry
Not at
food
all.
having,
No seasoning.
no seasoning. You can't go to the bodega all the times.
corner
But it makes you
stores.
have to figure it out. Like you have to
Mhm.
figure out how to be comfortable in places
Yes.
that aren't always comfortable to you. And it seems like that really helped you thrive and helped you grow.
Absolutely. I think even just learning new things that I wouldn't have gotten, right? So I went to public school from literally up until high school, and like when I went to college early, everyone at home thought I was smart, and I was in them classes like these kids been taking calculus, pre-calc, all of this stuff in high school, and I didn't even get the chance to do that. So it was kind of like I was like they had a head start, but then recognizing that once I locked into my potential, that I can learn these things and I can actually catch up. And now if I got a cousin or a friend that needs tutoring in high school, now I can help them with their college application because I had to do that. I can help with them with their FAFSA because I had to do that. And if you like me, you got immigrant parents. They don't understand numbers, right? Mm-hmm. So somebody had to walk through that door to let down that rope. So I feel like sometimes you gotta do it alone before you can bring your people with you.
You better preach up here. You got a church clap going on. No, no, no. Thank you so much. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
always pouring back into your community. You do a lot of great work in the community. And honestly, all of the artists that are gracing the stage are people that are very active in the community. That's part of why they were selected for this stage. You're just always giving. So with that said, I'm going to close this thing. We're going to give one more round of applause to Fanta Ballo.